One of the most dangerous things that ever happened to me was that I started defending myself almost instantly when I didn't even realize it. I thought that I was clarifying. I thought I was explaining. I thought I was helping people understand me. What I was doing was handing other people control over my reality. Have you ever noticed this? Somebody questions you, they challenge your intentions, they twist your words, they act offended, they make you feel guilty, and suddenly you're explaining your tone, you're explaining your motives, your character, your heart, your entire existence. And then afterward, you feel exhausted, drained, foggy. Because defending yourself for too long disconnects you from yourself. And people who do this habitually to other people, they understand something very important. If they can keep you defending, they can keep you emotionally off balance. That's why I need you to hear this and listen very carefully. The moment you start defending yourself emotionally, you often stop observing reality accurately.
Just a quick reminder, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, or if you think you're subscribed, check to make sure that you are, because we're forming an alliance of people who are not willing to let one more person slip away or disappear just because they don't know what the signals are. Make sure that you're subscribed and share and like this video to help support this channel, okay?
Because now your nervous system is no longer trying to understand what's happening. It's trying to escape danger. And when human beings feel emotional danger, we start performing, explaining, justifying, over-talking, over-giving, over-smiling, over-apologizing, trying desperately to regain safety. I call this the justification spiral. The justification spiral is when you become so focused on proving your goodness, your innocence, your intention, that you stop asking whether the conversation itself is healthy. That changes everything. Because the healthiest people I know do not spend their lives desperately trying to prove themselves. They observe, they clarify, they decide. And this realization hit me like a truck, because I started recognizing that many of the conversations that were destroying me were not conversations designed for understanding. They were conversations designed for destabilization. And if you don't recognize the difference, you can spend years trying to explain yourself to people who were never trying to understand you in the first place. That realization changed my life. And here's where things get fascinating scientifically. Psychologists have long studied something called the self-verification theory, which suggests that human beings strongly seek confirmation of the identities they have already believed about themselves from others. In simple terms, people often they'll seek out information that already supports the story that they believe to be true, which means sometimes the more you explain yourself, the less effective you become. Emotionally charged people are not always listening for understanding. Sometimes they are listening for confirmation of what they already believe. That's why explaining yourself can become a trap. A trap. I need to introduce you to something that changed everything for me. Instead of defending yourself immediately, slow the momentum down. Observe first. Not every accusation deserves a defense. Not every misunderstanding deserves emotional panic. Not every emotionally charged statement deserves immediate access to your nervous system. That is power. This is where the mystical side of things began speaking to me, because I started realizing truth does not panic. Truth does not scream to survive. Truth does not desperately chase validation. Fear does that. And when we are disconnected from ourselves, fear starts speaking for us. That's why people say things like, no, that's not what I meant. Let me explain. What I was trying to say was, and suddenly you're spiraling. The nervous system is flooding, and the identity is collapsing. When the conversation is no longer about clarity, but about survival, I used to do this all the time. Somebody would misunderstand me, and I would instantly feel this overwhelming pressure to fix it, to repair their perception so that they could see my heart. And eventually I realized something terrifying. If somebody consistently requires you to abandon your peace in order to maintain connection with them, that connection may not be healthy. That realization is hard because many of us, we were trained to believe if somebody sees me negatively, I must immediately repair that. No, not always. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is stop chasing the emotional acquittal. Now, this is where communication starts changing dramatically because instead of saying, that's not what I meant, let me explain, you begin saying things like, that's one interpretation, or help me understand specifically what do you mean, or I'd like to think about that before responding, or even, I don't agree with that characterization. Calm, measured, present, not panicked, not abandoning myself, not collapsing. One of the most powerful things you can remember is this: you do not have to attend every emotional trial to which you are invited. That line changed everything for me. Because manipulative dynamics often work by placing you psychologically on trial. Suddenly you're defending your tone, your motives, your memory, your intention, your humanity, your dignity, and you don't even recognize the trap. And if you don't, you start believing your entire existence requires constant justification. That is not peace. That is psychological exhaustion. And if this is resonating with you right now, I need you to hear something very carefully. You are not required to collapse emotionally every time somebody misunderstands you. You are not required to explain yourself into emptiness. You are not required to perform panic in order to perform sincerity. One of the healthiest things you can do is remain connected to yourself long enough to remain present and observe reality accurately. That pause changes everything, and slowly you can notice something incredible. The healthier you become, the less reactive explaining you do. Not because you stop caring, but because you stop abandoning yourself. And that changes relationships with a capital R. That changes meeting, that changes conflict, that changes identity, because eventually you realize peace is not the same thing as permission. Maturity is not emotional self-erasure. And if this video is resonating with you, join us, subscribe, join a group of people who understand what I'm talking about and who are lifting one another up and lifting themselves out. We are forming a coalition of people who will not let one another disappear alone anymore. We will lift one another up, and in doing so, we will lift ourselves up, because there are hidden signs that people can see long before a breakdown happens. Signals that the nervous system no longer feels safe. Signals of self-abandonment. Signals that somebody has started disappearing from their own life. Once you can recognize those signals, you can begin changing those signals before your nervous system forces the issue for you. Remember this: the moment you stop desperately defending yourself, the moment you stop explaining yourself, is the moment you finally begin hearing yourself again. And you can return home.
Just a quick reminder, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, or if you think you're subscribed, check to make sure that you are, because we're forming an alliance of people who are not willing to let one more person slip away or disappear just because they don't know what the signals are. Make sure that you're subscribed and share and like this video to help support this channel, okay?